Hey guys, tonight we explore a world that has been fundamentally, irrevocably, and literally turned on its head. We're going to journey through the day gravity decided to take a vacation, and then got on a plane and flew in the opposite direction. You are there at ground zero of the weirdest apocalypse imaginable, a slow, silent, and utterly complete unraveling of everything you've ever known. The sky becomes a destination, the ground becomes a memory, and your ceiling becomes your entire world. Imagine waking up not to the smell of coffee, but to the sight of your coffee floating out of its mug, a perfect brown sphere wobbling in the air before your astonished eyes. You'll see oceans rise in a single, terrifying sheet of blue, and you'll learn to walk on walls like a superhero, only without any of the fun and all of the existential dread. It's a gentle catastrophe, a quiet fall into the sky. And let's be honest, you probably won't survive this, but it's a beautiful, terrifying thought to fall asleep to. Before we begin, if you'd like to join me on more journeys like this one, consider hitting like and subscribe. It helps our community find more fellow travelers with the same curiosity. We have people listening from all over the world, so go ahead and post your city or country and the local time in the comments. It's always incredible to see where our fellow dreamers are. Now, find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Let's allow the noise of the outside world to fade away as we begin our adventure of the mind. It starts, as most world-altering events do, not with a bang, but with a barely perceptible whisper of wrongness. You're in your kitchen. The morning light is just beginning to spill across the countertops, and you're performing the sacred ritual of making your first cup of coffee. The water is heated, the grounds are measured, and the rich, dark liquid is filling your favorite mug. Everything is normal. Everything is precisely as it should be. You place the mug on the counter and turn to grab the milk from the fridge. When you turn back, the mug is still there, but it's vibrating. Just a tiny, almost invisible hum of energy. You lean closer, your brow furrowed. Is that a trick of the light? Maybe you're more tired than you thought. You dismiss it, pouring in a splash of milk. But as the white cloud blooms in the black coffee, you notice something else. A few tiny droplets, flicked from the carton spout, don't fall onto the counter. They hang in the air, a perfect little white pearls of milk, suspended about an inch above the granite. They quiver as if held by an invisible thread. You stare, captivated and confused. You reach out a finger to touch one, and it bursts with a soft pop, leaving a damp spot on your fingertip. This, you think, is not normal. This is definitively not how mornings are supposed to work. You look around the kitchen. The salt shaker on the table seems to be leaning at an impossible angle. The dish towel hanging from the oven door is curling upwards at the bottom corner, as if a gentle, non-existent breeze is lifting it. There's a subtle, pervasive feeling of lightness in your own body. When you take a step, your foot lands with less finality, less impact. You feel buoyant. It's a sensation not unlike being in a swimming pool, that gentle push of water against your limbs, except you're standing in your bone, dry kitchen. It's a mainstream fact of physics that gravity is, surprisingly, the weakest of the four fundamental forces. It's what holds galaxies together, yes, but on a small scale, it's easily overpowered. An ordinary refrigerator magnet holding up a drawing defies the entire gravitational pull of the planet Earth. Right now, it feels like something is beginning to defy it on a much grander scale. You walk into the living room, your steps feeling strangely springy. The dust bunnies under the sofa are not bunnies anymore. They are a loose, slowly churning cloud of gray fluff, hovering just above the floorboards. It's a silent, swirling galaxy of lint and lost hair. You watch, mesmerized, as a forgotten pen rolls off the edge of a bookshelf, and instead of clattering to the floor, it simply stops. It hangs in mid-air, slowly turning end over end. It's deeply, profoundly unsettling. Your brain, the product of millions of years of evolution on a planet with a reliable down, is screaming that this is impossible. Yet, your eyes are telling you it's happening. You turn on the news. The anchor on the screen is trying to maintain her composure, but her voice is tight with disbelief. Behind her, graphics show seismic sensors going haywire, but these aren't earthquakes. There's something else. She's talking about gravitational fluctuations and anomalous readings from physics labs around the world. Then, her own papers on the desk in front of her begin to lift, one by one, fluttering up towards the studio lights like clumsy moths. She bats them down, a flicker of genuine panic in her eyes before the broadcast cuts to a placid commercial for car insurance. There's a strange, almost imperceptible hum in the air now, a low frequency thrum that you feel more in your bones than you hear with your ears. It's the planet itself, groaning under a fundamental change in the rules. Scientists still argue whether gravity is a true force in the same way as electromagnetism, or if it's merely a consequence of the curvature of space-time caused by mass. It's a mind-bending debate, the kind of thing you'd read about in a popular science magazine and forget by lunch. But now it feels terrifyingly relevant. If space-time itself is unraveling, what does that even mean? You look out your window. Your neighbor is trying to water his prize, winning roses, but the water from his hose is behaving erratically. Instead of a neat arc falling to the ground, it's forming a writhing, silvery serpent in the air, a column of liquid that refuses to obey. He drops the hose in frustration, and it clatters to his lawn, but the water continues to pour out, rising straight up into the air like a geyser in reverse. Leaves from the big oak tree on your street are detaching from their branches and not falling, but drifting lazily upwards. A slow-motion green exodus. It's beautiful in a terrifying way. You think about something you read once, a quirky little tidbit about how astronauts in space often lose their sense of taste. The lack of gravity prevents convection, so aromas from their food don't waft up to their nose, dulling the flavor of everything. You absently sniff the air. Does your coffee smell less potent? Is that why everything feels so detached? The feeling of lightness is increasing. You push yourself up from the sofa and you float for a second longer than you should. Your landing is soft, cushioned by an invisible force. The cat, who has been watching all of this with a feline's supreme indifference, suddenly lets out a yawl. Its fur is standing on end, and it's crouched low, claws digging into the rug for dear life. Animals know. They always know when the world is about to break. The low hum gets a little louder, and you feel it in your teeth. Something is about to give. The morning's strangeness is over. The main event is about to begin. The transition is not violent. There is no sudden, gut-wrenching launch. It's far more insidious than that. The gentle buoyancy that has been teasing the edges of your reality for the last hour simply continues to grow. It's a slow, logarithmic creep. The hum in your bones intensifies, becoming a clear, resonant tone, like a giant tuning fork has been struck somewhere deep inside the earth. You are standing in the middle of your living room, and you feel the pressure on the soles of your feet begin to vanish. First, it's just a feeling of being lighter, as if you've lost a few pounds. Then, a few dozen. Then, you feel the rug beneath your feet offering no resistance at all. Your full weight is no longer on the floor. You are floating. Just an inch, maybe two. Your arms drift up to your sides, your body instinctively trying to find balance where there is none. You look at your floating pen, your swirling cloud of dust bunnies. You are one of them now. A moment of pure, untethered freedom washes over you, a child's dream of flight come true. It lasts for approximately 3 seconds. Then, the quiet, creeping horror sets in as you realize you are not just floating. You are rising. It's imperceptibly slow at first, a centimeter per minute. You watch the floorboards recede with an academic curiosity. Then it becomes an inch per minute. You are now at eye level with the top of the sofa. The cat yowls again, its claws the only thing keeping it anchored to the carpet, a small, furry puddle of terror. You try to swim, to push yourself back down through the air, but it's like trying to swim in water that has no substance. Your limbs move, but you go nowhere but up. The ascent is relentless, a constant, silent pull. It's the feeling of falling, but in the wrong direction. Everything not fastened down is coming with you. The remote control drifts past your face, followed by a magazine, its pages flipping open lazily. The decorative apples in the fruit bowl on your dining table bob upwards, a small convoy of red and green spheres on a journey to the ceiling. You are all caught in the same, silent, upward current. Scientists have a term for the experience of astronauts in orbit, persistent freefall. They are constantly falling toward the Earth, but moving sideways so fast that they always miss. What you're in now feels like persistent ascent. There's no sideways motion, just up, 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 up. Your head is now level with the hanging light fixture in the center of the room. It dangles from its chain, a bizarre stalactite in your newly inverted world. You push off it gently, hoping to steer yourself toward a wall, but the motion just sends you into a slow, uncontrolled spin. The room revolves around you, floor, walls, ceiling, floor, walls, ceiling. A wave of nausea, deep and profound, washes over you. Your inner ear, the delicate system of canals and fluids that has told you which way is down your entire life, is now sending a firestorm of contradictory signals to your brain. It doesn't know what to do. The result is a dizzying, stomach-churning vertigo that leaves you disoriented and helpless. You are rising faster now. It's a foot per minute, maybe more. You pass the top of the window frame. You look out and see your neighbor, the one with the prize, winning roses, clinging desperately to his mailbox as his feet float up behind him, parallel to the ground. His face is a mask of sheer terror. His reversed geyser of a hose is now 100 feet in the air, a shimmering pillar of water vanishing into the pale blue sky. Small, unsecured objects from every yard are joining the exodus. A pink plastic flamingo, a child's bicycle, a garden gnome, its cheerful painted smile now seeming like a cruel joke as it ascends into oblivion. Your hand brushes against the rough texture of the ceiling. The journey is over, or rather, a new one has begun. You have arrived. Your back makes contact with the plaster. The pressure feels solid, reassuring. After the terrifying freedom of the ascent, any solid surface is a comfort. But now what? You are pinned against the ceiling by a force as relentless and powerful as the gravity that once held you to the floor. You try to move, to roll over, but the pressure is immense. It's like being held down by an invisible giant. You realize you have to learn how to move. You have to push, not lift. You press your hands against the ceiling, your new floor, and shove. Slowly, painstakingly, you manage to roll onto your stomach. Now you are looking down at the room. It is a sight of pure, unadulterated chaos. The sofa, the chairs, the television, the bookshelves, everything heavy and solid is still on the floor, which is now a terrifying ceiling above your head. But everything else is either on its way up or has already arrived. Cushions, books, DVDs, and that bowl of apples are now pressed against the ceiling with you, a strange new layer of domestic debris. Your coffee mug is here, a brown stain spreading across the white plaster where it finally made impact. Remember that coffee, your first sign that the universe was breaking. It seems like a lifetime ago. There's a scholarly debate that has raged for decades about the equivalence principle, Einstein's idea that the force you feel from acceleration is indistinguishable from the force of gravity. If you're in a windowless box, you can't tell if you're sitting on Earth or accelerating through space at 9.8 meters per second squared. You are now in a planetary scale version of that thought experiment. The pull feels exactly as real, as undeniable, as the pull down ever did. You begin to crawl, your hands and knees scraping against the textured plaster. Every movement is an effort, a struggle against the constant upward pull. You are an infant again, learning to navigate your world from scratch. You crawl towards the wall. Looking down, the wall to the floor is like standing on the edge of a cliff. The instinct to recoil, the primal fear of falling, is overwhelming, even though falling is now impossible. You have to fight your own brain. You have to convince yourself that the abyss above your head is safe, and the solid surface you're on is the new reality. A quirky fact about the human body is that our sense of proprioception, our awareness of the position and movement of our bodies, is deeply linked to gravity. Without its familiar pull, your brain struggles to make sense of where your limbs are. You feel clumsy, disconnected, a puppet whose strings are being pulled in the wrong direction. You reach the corner where the wall meets the ceiling, and you pause, breathing heavily. Your home is now a prison, a bizarre, upside-down cage, and the only way out is through a door that now opens onto a drop into the endless sky. The novelty has worn off, replaced by a grim, oppressing reality. Your ceiling is your floor. Your floor is your ceiling. This isn't a fun house anymore. It's your life. Crawling is your new walk. The skin on your palms and knees is already raw from the rough plaster, a surface never meant for traffic. You lie on your stomach, appearing over the edge of your new world, the top of the wall where it meets the ceiling. Down into the familiar space of your living room, now rendered alien and treacherous. The sofa is a soft, upholstered stalactite hanging from the distant ground. The television is a black, glossy rectangle promising nothing but a long, fatal drop. Your first priority is exploration. You need to know what you're dealing with. You begin to crawl along the perimeter of the room, your fingers tracing the sharp line of the corner. The world is a 90-degree angle. You move from the living room into the hallway. The perspective is dizzying, a corridor that plunges both down the walls and towards the distant floor. Light fixtures, once innocuous, are now major obstacles. You have to carefully navigate around the brass base of the hallway light, its glass bowl hanging beneath it like a ripe fruit. You can't help but think about how fragile it looks. A wrong move, a misplaced knee, and you could shatter it, sending glass raining down onto what? Nothing. It would just hang there, a cloud of glittering shards, until it was disturbed. You reach the kitchen. The scene is one of utter pandemonium. Every cabinet door has swung open, their contents now piled against the roof of the cabinet interiors. Spices, bags of flour, boxes of pasta, all straining against the thin particle board. Some have broken open, and a fine dust of flour and paprika coats your new ceiling floor, a treacherous, slippery powder. The apples from the fruit bowl are here, nestled in the corner like a clutch of strange, waxy eggs. Your refrigerator is humming away, oblivious. You wonder what it's like inside. You picture the carton of milk, the jar of pickles, the leftover lasagna, all pressed firmly against the top shelf. It's a strange, a mundane thought in the midst of a world-ending catastrophe, but it's the small details that keep you tethered to sanity. Your next thought is water. You are thirsty. The primal need asserts itself even when the laws of physics have gone on strike. But how? You crawl to where the sink is on the floor far below you. The faucet is an impossible distance away. Even if you could reach it, how would you get the water up to you? It would pour out and shoot down towards the floor ceiling, away from you. You need a container, a bottle with a lid. You scan the debris field around you. There, a plastic bottle of olive oil, which must have been on the counter, has rolled into a corner. It's half full. You crawl towards it, your movements becoming a little more confident, a little less like a terrified baby. You are adapting. The human brain is a remarkable machine. You get the bottle. The oil, of course, is pulled against the screw, top lid. You manage to twist it open, bracing yourself for a mess. A few golden drops escape and immediately fly down to join the film of flour and spices on the plaster. You carefully pour the rest of the oil out, watching it fall. Then you have an empty bottle. Now for the hard part. You need to get to the sink. You look around. The only way down is to use the walls. Can you climb down? No. The pull is too strong in the wrong direction. You'd be pushing yourself off the wall. You need to go down, but you're constantly being pulled up. This is the central problem of your new life. A mainstream fact of architecture is that buildings are designed entirely around compression and tension, with gravity as the ultimate arbiter. Everything is built to carry a load downwards. Now, that entire philosophy is inverted. Things are being pulled apart, not pushed together. You look at the walls, the way they're joined to the ceiling. Are those nails strong enough to hold against a constant, reversed pull? Is the whole house slowly being disassembled by this new, relentless force? It's a deeply disturbing thought. You have an idea. It's risky. It's stupid. It's the only thing you can think of. The curtains, the long, heavy drapes in your living room are still attached to the curtain rod, which is screwed into the wall near the ceiling. The fabric hangs down, its end brushing against the distant floor. Could you use it as a rope? You crawl back into the living room. There they are, a cascade of patterned fabric. It looks flimsy. You approach the edge and lie on your stomach, reaching down. Your fingers can just brush the top of the curtain rod. It feels solid. You hope. You take a deep breath. You wrap your hand around the rod, then your other hand. You let your legs drift down until you are hanging from the rod, the full force of the new gravity trying to pull you away from it, up towards the ceiling. The rod groans. The screws strain in the drywall. You are now dangling, looking straight down, the wall at the floor below. The vertigo is immense, a physical blow. You force it down. You begin to move. a hand over hand along the curtain rod towards the curtains themselves. It's the hardest physical exertion you've ever known. Every muscle screams in protest. You reach the fabric. You grab a handful. It feels impossibly thin. Can this really hold you? You shift your weight onto it. The fabric stretches, groans, but holds. Slowly, painstakingly, you begin to lower yourself. It's not like climbing down a rope. You're not fighting gravity. You're fighting the lack of it. You have to pull yourself down with every move while the universe tries to pull you up. Your muscles burn. Your descent is clumsy, a series of controlled falls and desperate grabs. Halfway down, you pause, your cheek pressed against the cool, painted drywall. You look at your own hand, pale and shaking. You read a quirky article once about how rock climbers sometimes experience a phenomenon called sewing machine leg, where a limb starts shaking uncontrollably from adrenaline and fatigue. Your entire body feels like a sewing machine right now. You make it to the floor. You land in a crouch, your muscles trembling. For the first time since the ascent, you are standing on solid ground. It feels strange. Wrong. The upward pull is still there, a constant strain trying to lift you off your feet. You feel like a balloon on a short string. You have to actively flex your leg muscles to stay put. You scurry to the sink, turn the faucet. The water gushes out and shoots straight up to the ceiling, splashing against the plaster and raining back down in large, floating globs. You grab your empty oil bottle, hold it over the stream, and manage to catch some. You screw the lid on tight. Success. You have water. Now you just have to get back up to your ceiling world. You look back at the curtain. Climbing up will be easier, a controlled ascent. The real question, the one that's been nagging at you, is what happens when you open your front door. What awaits you outside? Climbing back up the curtain is a surreal experience. The upward pull does most of the work for you. You simply guide your ascent, hand over hand, a strange parody of a mountaineer. When you reach the top, you haul yourself back onto the plaster of your ceiling floor, breathing heavily, clutching your precious bottle of water. You are exhausted, but you are a survivor. You have solved the first problems, have movement and water. Now for the big one, the world outside. You crawl to the front door of your apartment, or what used to be your front door. It's now a heavy wooden slab in the wall, a few feet below you. The doorknob is at an awkward angle. The key is in your pocket. Getting the key in the lock while bracing yourself against the upward pull is a clumsy, fumbling affair. You manage it. You turn the key, turn the knob, and pull. The door swings inward toward you, and you see it. You see the world. There are no words in the human language to adequately describe the sight. The sky is no longer above you. It is below you, a vast, terrifying, beautiful expanse of blue. You are on the edge of a precipice, your apartment building a sheer cliff dropping into the heavens. There is no ground. There is only a dizzying, infinite fall, but it's not a fall. It's a rise. Your gaze is drawn to the great exodus. The planet is shedding its skin. You see rivers, great silver ribbons of them, lifting from their beds and ascending into the sky. They are no longer flowing from high ground to low. They are simply leaving. They hold their shape for 1,000 feet or so, a shimmering, wreathing serpent of water before breaking apart into a mist of countless droplets that continue their silent journey upward. You watch the contents of a whole lake, a perfect blue circle, rise as one, a colossal, wobbling lens of water, its surface teeming with confused, leaping fish. It passes your altitude and continues on, a temporary moon on its way to the void. And the oceans. You can't see them from here, but you can imagine them. Trillions of tons of water have peeling away from the planet's surface a single, continuous sheet of blue rising to meet the stars. Scientists still debate the exact composition of Earth's early atmosphere, but it's generally agreed that the water in our oceans was delivered by comets and asteroids billions of years ago. Now, it seems, the universe is asking for it back. It's a refund on a planetary scale. It's not just water, it's everything. The topsoil from 1,000 farmers' fields is rising in a great brown cloud, a slow-motion dust bowl of unimaginable scale. You see forests being stripped bare, a rain of green leaves, pine needles, and twigs all flying upwards. You see cars, thousands of them, lifting from the streets and highways. They tumble end over end, their metal bodies catching the sun. A glittering cascade of wreckage rising into the atmosphere. Red cars, blue cars, yellow Taxis delivery trucks. They look like discarded toys. You watch a school bus, empty, thank God, float past your building, its stop signs still extended, a final, futile command. The air is filled with a strange symphony of sound. Not the violent crash of disaster, but a million small noises amplified by the weird new silence. The creak of metal, the flutter of leaves, the distant, mournful moo of a cow spinning slowly as it rises into the blue. The sound of the wind is different, too. It doesn't howl around corners. It seems to flow in a single, upward direction, a constant river of air pouring into space. You grip the doorframe, your knuckles white. The sheer scale of it is overwhelming. Your small, upside-down apartment, your struggle for a bottle of water. It all seems so pathetic, so insignificant in the face of this planetary transformation. You are a bug clinging to a rock, while the rock itself is being thrown into the sun. You look at the other buildings. People are emerging just like you. Faces in windows, figures clinging to balconies that are now overhangs. You see a man on the building opposite yours. He has tied a rope made of bedsheets to his balcony railing and is slowly lowering himself down his wall. What is he trying to reach? His car, the ground that no longer exists? Or is he just trying to do something, anything, in the face of this passive, silent apocalypse? A mainstream fact of atmospheric science is the concept of terminal velocity, the speed at which the resistance of the air pushing up on a falling object equals the force of gravity pulling it down. For a human being, it's about 120 miles per hour. But what is the terminal velocity of a rising object when the air itself is being pulled along with it? There are no rules for this. No charts, no equations. Everything is accelerating, but relative to the rising air, some things are moving faster than others. Heavier objects seem to be rising more slowly than lighter ones, a bizarre reversal of the old laws. The cars are ascending at a stately pace, while the leaves and dust are shooting upwards like rockets. You find yourself thinking of the oddest things. You remember a quirky news story from years ago about a Orsky burial, a Tibetan funeral practice where a human body is placed on a mountaintop to be eaten by vultures. It seemed so alien, so strange. Now you realize the entire planet is becoming a sky burial. We are all being offered up to the void. You look down, or is it up, at the sky again. The blue is deepening as your eyes adjust. It's no longer the pale, familiar blue of a summer afternoon. It's the deep, dark, terrifying blue of the open ocean. You are looking into an abyss, and it is pulling you in. You feel a strange desire, a morbid curiosity to just let go, to release your grip on the doorframe and join the great exodus. to become another piece of glittering debris on a final journey to the stars. The thought is both terrifying and strangely peaceful. You are a creature of gravity. You have spent your entire life chained to a rock. What would it be like to finally be free? You shake your head, forcing the thought away. No, survival. That's the only thought that matters now. You pull the door shut, the comforting thud of the wood blocking out the impossible view. You are safe in your upside-down cage. But for how long? Days bleed into one another, or maybe it's weeks. Time, like gravity, has lost its meaning. Your world has shrunk to the size of your apartment, a plaster and drywall island in a sea of vertical chaos. The initial shock has subsided, replaced by the dull ache of routine. You have a system now. You make a perilous journey down the curtain, rope once a day to refill your water bottle from the endlessly gushing upward faucet. You've scavenged the debris field on your ceiling, floor, finding a few sealed bags of chips and a jar of peanut butter that somehow didn't shatter. It's a miserable existence, but it's an existence. The loneliness is a physical weight, or rather, a physical lightness. You crave the pressure of another human being, the simple, grounding presence of someone else sharing this madness. The broadcasts on the battery-powered radio you found are sporadic, filled with static and panicked voices talking about containment and anchor points. It's all meaningless jargon. Then, one day, you hear something that cuts through the noise. A voice, calm and clear, giving out coordinates. Not for a rescue center, but for a meeting point. The underside of the Grand Avenue Bridge. The bridge. It's 3 miles from your apartment building. 3 miles of open air, of vertical cityscape. It's a suicide mission. And it's the only hope you've had in weeks. The decision is surprisingly easy. To stay here is to slowly go insane, to waste away on a diet of stale crackers and despair. To leave is to risk a quick end, but also to grasp at the slim chance of community, of survival. Preparing for the journey is like packing for a trip to another planet. You need to be able to move vertically and horizontally across the sheer faces of buildings. You need supplies. You fashion a crude harness out of belts and a backpack. You braid more bedsheets together, creating a longer, stronger rope. It's flimsy, pathetic, but it's all you have. You fill your water bottle. You pack the last of the peanut butter. You take one last look at your inverted home, at the sofa hanging from the ceiling like a modernist sculpture, at the dusty ghosts of your former life. Then you open the door and step out into the abyss. The first part of the journey is the descent. You rappel down the side of your own building using your bedsheet, rope, your feet braced against the brickwork. The wind, that constant upward river of air, presses against you, trying to peel you off the wall. Looking down is a mistake you only make once. The dizzying view of the sky, ocean below, is enough to make your stomach clench and your muscles freeze. You learn to focus only on the wall in front of you. Brick, mortar, window, ledge. One small section at a time. At the base of your building, you face a new problem. The street. It's 100-foot gap of open air to the next building. 100 feet of nothing. This is the great filter of the new world. How do you cross the gaps? You can't fly, but you see others. Figures, small and distant, moving with a spider, like grace. They have real equipment. Climbing harnesses, carabiners, proper ropes. They are throwing grappling hooks, securing lines, and zip lining across the urban canyons. They are the new masters of this vertical world. You are just an amateur. You find your answer at the base of a lamppost. It's still rooted in the concrete of the sidewalk, but the pole itself has been bent upwards by the new gravity, forming a graceful arc that reaches halfway across the street. It's a makeshift bridge, a terrifying, swaying metal bridge. You climb it. You crawl along its length, at the metal cool beneath your raw hands. Halfway across, it sways, and you freeze, your heart hammering against your ribs. But it holds. You make it to the other side, scrambling onto the relative safety of the next building's wall. This is your life now. A terrifying, slow motion game of urban Frogger. You climb down buildings, navigate the strange, upward, curving architecture of the street level, and then climb back up the other side. You see the skeletons of trees, their roots ripped from the ground, the whole organism now clinging to the undersides of overpasses, their branches reaching down for a sun that is in the wrong place. The world is a surrealist painting come to life. As you get closer to the bridge, you see more signs of life. Not just the elite climbers, but people like you. Families huddled on the undersides of balconies. Groups of survivors who have lashed themselves together with belts and extension cords. There is a strange, silent camaraderie. A nod, a raised hand. We are here. We are alive. It's enough. The Grand Avenue Bridge is a revelation. It's a city. Hundreds of people have converged on its massive steel underbelly. It is the single safest place in this new world. Its huge concrete pylons are sunk deep into the bedrock, and its steel girders provide a complex three-dimensional lattice to live on. It is an island of stability in an ocean of chaos. People have set up camps on the wide maintenance catwalks. Tents, made from salvaged tarps and plastic sheeting, are anchored to the beams. Ropes crisscross the space, creating pathways and safety lines. You have arrived at one of the first settlements of the new era. It's a vertical shanty town, a chaotic, desperate, and beautiful testament to human resilience. There's a makeshift marketplace where people trade scavenged goods, a can of beans for a roll of duct tape, a working flashlight for a pair of sturdy gloves. A man is using a hand-cranked generator to charge batteries, a small pool of light in the perpetual twilight beneath the bridge. There is a mayor, a former construction foreman who understands the bridge's structure better than anyone. She organizes foraging parties, teams of skilled climbers who venture into the silent, floating city to scavenge for food, medicine, and supplies. A quirky, and now vital, tidbit of engineering is that many large bridges are designed with slight camber, a built-in upward curve, so they settle into a flat line under their own weight. The Grand Avenue Bridge's camber now works in your favor, creating a shallow bowl on the underside that provides a small, precious degree of natural shelter. You find an empty spot on a wide girder, clip your pathetic bedsheet, rope to a rusted bolt, and for the first time in weeks, you feel something approaching safety. You are not alone. You are surrounded by the coughs, the whispers, the quiet sobs of hundreds of other survivors. You see the ingenuity, the desperation, the hope in their eyes. You see children roped to their parents, playing quiet games on the cold steel. They are adapting faster than the adults, their young minds more plastic, more accepting of this impossible reality. This is the new normal, this chaotic, precarious upside-down city beneath a bridge. It's a grim, hard life, but it is life. And as you lie back on the cold steel, looking up at the concrete roadbed above you, you feel a flicker of something you thought you had lost forever, a future. Life under the bridge settles into a rhythm dictated by the twin suns of survival and routine. The initial relief of finding this sanctuary gives way to the stark reality of long-term existence here. This isn't a temporary camp, it's a permanent settlement, the seed of a new kind of civilization. And the lifeblood of this new civilization is the tether. Ropes, cables, wires, chains, they are everything. They are your connection to the world, your safety, your home. Your life hangs, quite literally, by a thread. You quickly learn that your braided bedsheet, which seemed like a work of genius back in your apartment, is a laughable liability here. You trade your jar of peanut butter, a painful sacrifice, for 20 feet of used, but professional grade, a climbing rope and a single, battered carabiner. That single, satisfying click as you clip it onto a girder for the first time is the most reassuring sound you've ever heard. It's the sound of not dying. It's the sound of belonging. Everyone here is a master of the tether. You watch in awe as the foraging parties prepare for their expeditions. They are like astronauts suiting up for a spacewalk. They wear harnesses covered in loops and clips and carry coils of rope with an easy, practiced familiarity. Their movements are fluid and economical, a form of vertical ballet. They communicate with hand signals, a silent language developed for the unique challenges of this environment, where a shouted word can be whipped away by the constant upward wind. You learn the new vocabulary. A pitch is the distance you can climb or cross with a single length of rope. A belay is the act of securing another climber's rope, protecting them from a fall, or in this case, a sudden uncontrolled ascent. A dropper is a terrifying piece of new slang for an object or person that has lost its connection and is now on a one-way trip to the sky. The term is always spoken in a hushed, somber tone. Every time a distant, glittering object tumbles past the bridge on its upward journey, a quiet moment of reflection passes through the camp. There but for the grace of a well, tide not go I. You take your first lessons. An old woman with hands as tough as leather and eyes that have seen everything teaches you the essential knots. The figure 8 follow through, the clove hitch, the prusik. She is endlessly patient, correcting your fumbling fingers, making you tie them over and over until you can do it in the dark by feel alone. A knot is a promise. She tells you, her voice raspy, you tie it badly, it makes you a liar. And the sky does not forgive liars. A mainstream fact you learn quickly is the importance of redundancy. Never trust a single anchor point. Always have a backup. It's the core philosophy of climbing, and now it's the core philosophy of life. Your primary line keeps you secure. Your secondary line keeps you alive if the first one fails. You see this principle everywhere. Mothers keep their children on double tethers. The precious water filtration system is anchored with 3 separate cables, each one capable of holding the full weight on its own. The bridge itself is a jungle of tethers. Main lines, thick as your arm, stretch the entire length of the settlement, serving as highways. People clip their personal tethers to these main lines with a rolling pulley, allowing them to move quickly and safely from one end of the camp to the other. Smaller ropes branch off, leading to individual living spaces on different girders and beams. The entire structure is a web, and you are all just spiders living within it. There's a subtle social hierarchy developing, based entirely on one's skill with a rope. The elite are the foragers, the brave souls who venture out into the silent city. They get the best food, the most secure living spaces. Below them are the engineers and riggers, the ones who maintain the bridge's complex web of ropes and anchors. Then there are people like you, the newcomers, the learners. You do the menial work, sorting scavenged goods, braiding weaker materials into usable cords, keeping watch. It's a meritocracy born of necessity. Your old life, your job, your wealth, none of it matters here. The only question is, can you be trusted on a rope? You discover a fringe application of this new skill. Some of the younger members of the community have started swinging. They create immensely long pendulums of rope, anchoring them to the highest points of the bridge's steel superstructure. They then launch themselves out into the void, swinging in huge, graceful arcs over the terrifying ocean below. It's a breathtakingly dangerous, utterly insane form of recreation. But as you watch them, you see the pure, unadulterated joy on their faces. For a few brief moments, they are not survivors clinging to a rock. They are flying. They are dancing with the abyss. It's a spark of defiance, a refusal to be defined solely by fear. Scientists still argue about the theoretical limits of material strength, a field known as materials science. They talk about carbon nanotubes and graphene, materials with tensile strengths hundreds of times greater than steel. Here, under the bridge, these debates are not academic. People are constantly experimenting, trying to create stronger, lighter ropes. They braid telephone cables, unravel steel elevator cords, and weave together salvaged electrical wiring. They test their creations by anchoring them and loading them with scavenged weights, meticulously noting the breaking point. This is science in its purest form, driven by the most powerful motivator of all, survival. The dream is to one day create a tether long enough and strong enough to reach where? No one is sure. But the work continues. It has to. You spend your days practicing your knots, learning to trust your equipment, your body, your fellow survivors. You learn to move with a new kind of grace, to think in 3 dimensions. Your hands, once soft from an office job, are now calloused and strong. You are no longer just a victim of this new world. You are becoming a part of it. You are a master of the tether. And as you clip into the main line to make your way to the evening meal, the familiar click of the carabiner is no longer just reassuring. It's the sound of home. The distribution of the evening meal is the central social event of the day. It's a time when the entire community gathers on the main catwalk, the widest and most stable part of the under bridge. The air, which usually carries the metallic tang of rusted steel and the faint scent of ozone from the upper atmosphere, is now filled with the aroma of cooking. It's a thin, often strange smell. Canned soup mixed with scavenged herbs, stale bread toasted over a carefully guarded flame. But it's the smell of a shared meal, a primal comfort that transcends even this bizarre reality. But the simple act of eating, a pleasure you once took for granted, is now a complex and perilous dance. You can't just sit down with a plate and a fork. Every meal is a lesson in applied physics. You approach the food distribution point, a makeshift kitchen set up on a wide platform. Your personal tether is securely clipped to the main safety line that runs the length of the catwalk. You hold out your container, a battered tin bowl, and receive your portion, a ladleful of thick, grayish stew. The cook serves it with a practiced, careful motion, ensuring not a single drop is wasted. Spills are not just messy here, they are a tragic loss of precious calories. You retreat to your designated eating spot, a small patch of steel girder you share with your not tutor, the old woman with the leathery hands. You can't place your bowl down. There is no down. You must hold it at all times. This simple fact transforms the meal. You eat with one hand, while the other is always ready to grab a safety line or steady yourself. Utensils are a liability. A dropped fork doesn't clatter on the floor, it vanishes, a tiny silver shooting star on a journey to nowhere. Most people eat with their hands, or with a single, precious spoon that is tied to their wrist with a piece of string. Remember that first coffee you made on the morning the world broke. Remember watching it float out of the mug, a perfect brown sphere. That principle now governs every liquid you consume. Drinking is the hardest part. You can't drink from an open cup. The water, or tea, or whatever thin broth is available would simply refuse to pour down into your mouth. It would pool against the bottom of the cup, and if you tipped it too far, it would blob out and float away. All drinks are consumed from sealed containers. Squeeze bottles are worth more than gold. You have your precious water bottle, the one you salvaged from your apartment. You squeeze a small amount into your mouth, swallowing carefully. The sensation is still strange, the liquid feeling weightless on your tongue. A quirky fact about eating in space, which has now become an intensely practical piece of knowledge, is that crumbs are a nightmare. On the International Space Station, astronauts eat tortillas instead of bread because a single bread crumb can float into sensitive equipment or into a crewmate's eye, causing chaos. Here, the same rule applies. Crumbly foods are forbidden. Crackers are eaten with extreme care, your mouth shielded by a hand to catch any stray fragments. The ground that isn't ground beneath you is already littered with a floating minefield of tiny, forgotten particles. You watch the others around you. A family has developed a system where the mother and father take turns eating, while the other holds the two small children who are eating from plastic food pouches. A young couple shares a can of cold peaches, passing it back and forth with the solemnity of a religious rite. There are no tables, no chairs, no clatter of silverware. Just the quiet, focused, and deeply intimate act of several hundred people trying to nourish themselves while dangling over an abyss. It's a scene of profound desperation, but also of profound grace. The nature of the food itself has changed. Taste and smell are muted. The constant, thin, upward wind whisks away aromas before they can be properly savored. Scientists still debate the exact interplay between gravity, convection, and our olfactory senses, but the practical result is that most food tastes bland. Flavor is a luxury of the old world. Now, food is fuel. Texture and temperature are the new connoisseurship. A hot meal is a miracle. A crunchy piece of scavenged candy is a treasure. We are becoming simpler creatures, our palates reset to a more basic, primal level. You finish your stew, scraping the last remnants from the bowl with your finger. You carefully seal your water bottle. The meal is over, but the ritual is not. Waste disposal is a critical community task. You carry your empty bowl to the slop line, a designated area on the far edge of the settlement. Here, all organic waste is collected in a large, sealed container. When it's full, two of the strongest riggers will carefully rig it to a pulley system and lower it, or rather, release it, into the void. It's a strange, upside-down burial at sea. Non-organic waste like empty cans or broken tools is kept. Everything has a potential second life. A can can be a cup. A broken tool can be scrap metal. Nothing is ever truly thrown away. As you clip back into your personal living space, you feel the familiar gnaw of hunger that is never quite satisfied. The portions are small, the calories carefully rationed. But you are alive. You have eaten. You have shared a moment of quiet communion with your fellow survivors. You lie back on your patch of cold steel, your hand resting on your stomach, and you look up. At the concrete ceiling of your world, you are tethered, you are fed. In this new, broken reality, that is a form of grace. You are learning the new etiquette of a world without gravity, where a shared meal is a pact of survival and a single dropped crumb is a tragedy. The human drama of survival, the intricate web of ropes and rations under the bridge, is so all-consuming that it's easy to forget you aren't the only ones adapting. The entire planet's ecosystem, a 4 billion year old system built on the simple promise of down, has been thrown into utter chaos. And from your perch on the steel girders, you have a front row seat to the strange, often brutal, story of nature's response. At first, the changes were subtle. The most obvious was the silence of the birds. In the first few days, the air was filled with their panicked, confused cries. Birds don't fly by magic. They generate lift by pushing air downwards. When the fundamental direction of down became a relentless up, their wings became useless. They would flap furiously, but the effort only served to accelerate their ascent. The sky, once their kingdom, became their executioner. After a week, the skies were silent. The birds were gone, tragic casualties of the new physics, their small bodies now part of the endless debris field in the upper atmosphere. But nature, as the old saying goes, abhors a vacuum. The disappearance of birds left a void, and something new, something bizarre, began to fill it. You start to see them in the twilight hours. Bats, their mode of flight, a more complex and swim-like motion through the air, seems to have given them an edge. They can navigate this new world, albeit clumsily. They flit between the silent, floating skyscrapers, their sonar clicks echoing in the urban canyons. They have become the new rulers of the dusk, feasting on the clouds of insects that have also been carried aloft. And the insects, they are thriving. Gnats, mosquitoes, moths, creatures so light that gravity was only ever a minor inconvenience for them. They now exist in vast permanent swarms, clouds of life that drift on the upward currents. They are a nuisance, but also a source of food for the bats, and you've seen with a grim fascination for some of the more desperate and resourceful survivors who have fashioned fine nets to catch them. The plant world is engaged in its own slow motion struggle. You look at the parks and green spaces you pass on foraging missions. They are now barren patches of exposed rock and subsoil. The trees that remain are the ones with the deepest, strongest root systems, the ones that were able to anchor themselves against the pull. But they are dying. Their leaves have all been stripped away, sent on that one-way trip to the sky. They are skeletons, their branches reaching down in a desperate, a futile plea for a sun that is no longer above them. But life finds a way. On the underside of the bridge, in cracks filled with wind, blown dust and debris, things are starting to grow. Mosses and lichens, the hardiest of pioneers, are creating patches of vivid green on the rusted steel. You see small, pale weeds sprouting, their roots reaching up into the debris for purchase, their leaves angling down towards the reflected light from the distant, cloud-covered earth ceiling. It's a new kind of botany, an inverted garden growing in the shadow of the apocalypse. The animal kingdom's adaptations are even more striking. You see them on your scavenging runs. Rats, the ultimate survivors, have become expert climbers, their claws finding purchase on brickwork and pipes as they navigate the vertical city. Squirrels, once masters of the trees, are now masters of the walls, their powerful legs allowing them to leap across gaps you wouldn't dare attempt. They are thinner, more feral, their bushy tails now acting as strange, useless parachutes against the upward pull. A mainstream biological fact is that ecosystems are built on trophic levels, a pyramid of energy from plants to herbivores to predators. That pyramid has been shattered. The old food chains are broken. Herbivores are starving as the plants vanish, and predators are starving as the herbivores disappear. What's emerging is a new, simplified ecosystem based on scavenging and opportunism. Everything is food for something else. There is an ongoing and often heated scholarly debate in ecology about the resilience of natural systems. Can an ecosystem recover from a catastrophic shock, or does it collapse entirely? You are living in the middle of the greatest ecological experiment in history. The answer, it seems, is both. The old world is collapsing, its creatures and plants dying in a mass extinction event. But a new, strange, and frankly terrifying ecosystem is being born from its ruins. You hear stories from other settlements. People living near what used to be coastlines speak of strange, deep-sea creatures, their bodies adapted to immense pressure, being found clinging to the undersides of cliffs, their bioluminescent lures blinking in the darkness. They are the survivors of the great ocean exodus, the ones who were deep enough to be caught on the seabed as the water lifted away. It's a quirky, terrifying thought, ancient sea monsters, now neighbors in this vertical world. The most profound change, however, is in the creatures you can no longer see, the burrowing animals, the worms, the moles, the ants. For them, gravity was the force that kept the world on top of them. Now, that pressure is gone. You see the evidence everywhere, that the ground below is riddled with new holes, the entrances to vast, unexplored subterranean kingdoms. What is happening down there, in the dark? Are they building new societies, freed from the weight of the world? Or are they simply expanding their territory, unaware that the world they knew has vanished into the sky? You sit on your girder, watching a spider meticulously build a web in this new orientation. It seems untroubled, its ancient instincts perfectly suited to a three-dimensional world, regardless of the direction of the pull. You, the apex predator of the old world, are now just another creature clinging to a rock, watching and wondering. You are a part of this inverted ecosystem now, another species trying to find its niche before it goes extinct. In the quiet hours, when the camp is asleep, and the only sounds are the hum of the upward wind and the creak of straining steel, you turn on your radio. It's a small, hand-cranked device you traded a pack of scavenged antibiotics for, and it's your only connection to the larger world, or what's left of it. The broadcasts are weak, filled with static that sounds like whispering ghosts, but occasionally, a voice cuts through. These are the voices from the bunkers. Before the flip, as everyone now calls it, the world's governments had plans for every conceivable disaster: nuclear war, asteroid impact, global pandemic. Deep beneath mountains, deserts, and ice sheets, they built fortified, self-sustaining complexes designed to preserve the chain of command. It's a mainstream fact of Cold War history that these bunkers exist, vast subterranean cities with their own power, water, and stockpiles of food. It was always assumed they would be the last redoubts of humanity after a surface-level catastrophe. Nobody ever wrote a manual for what to do when the surface itself flew away. The voices that come through the static are calm, measured, and utterly detached from your reality. They are the voices of generals, of deputy ministers, of senior civil servants. The presidents and prime ministers, you assume, are either in even deeper, more secure bunkers, or they didn't make it in time. These voices still speak in the language of the old world. They talk about maintaining continuity of government, securing strategic assets, and coordinating regional responses. It's a bureaucratic script that is absurdly disconnected from your life of dangling from a rope and worrying about your next meal. They broadcast on encrypted channels, but rogue technicians and hackers from the old world, now living in settlements just like yours, have managed to break the codes. The information trickles down, passed from one radio operator to another, becoming more like myth and legend with each telling. You hear of a massive command center deep beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex in Colorado, another under the Ural Mountains in Russia, and a third somewhere in the Australian outback. They are the new capitals of a world they can no longer touch. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They have satellites, of course, high orbit sentinels that are unaffected by the planet's gravitational chaos. They show them perfect, clinical images of the disaster. They can see the oceans peeling away, the topsoil eroding into space, the strange new weather patterns forming as the atmosphere thins. They have data points, charts, and graphs. What they don't have is the feeling of the upward wind on their faces, the taste of rust and fear, the sight of a neighbor's empty tether swinging in the breeze. They are governing a ghost. Their attempts to manage the crisis are both tragic and comical. They issue directives that are impossible to follow. All citizens are advised to shelter in place and await instructions. You look around at your perch on a steel girder. You are sheltering in place, all right. Unaffiliated travel is strongly discouraged to maintain security. Everyone here is an unaffiliated traveler. It's the only way to survive. Their words are like messages in a bottle thrown into the wrong ocean. Occasionally, they try to make contact. They have repurposed deep Earth communication arrays to send powerful, focused radio signals to known population centers, or what used to be population centers. They call for settlement leaders to identify themselves, to report their status, to provide census data. It's a call for order in a world defined by chaos. The mayor of your bridge settlement tried to respond once, using a salvaged ham radio powered by the hand crank generator. She spoke for 10 minutes, describing the reality of life on the underside, the need for rope, for water purifiers, for insulin. The voice from the bunker listened patiently, then asked her to please hold for the appropriate departmental liaison. The connection was lost before the liaison ever came on the line. A quirky and now grimly ironic tidbit from the old world was the concept of the ivory tower, a place where academics and intellectuals could pursue their work, detached from the messy concerns of everyday life. These bunkers are the ultimate ivory towers, sealed off not by academic pretension, but by thousands of feet of solid rock. They are running simulations, we hear, trying to model the new physics, to predict what comes next. There is a furious scholarly debate raging between the bunkers, a war of words fought via encrypted radio waves. Is this a permanent state change? Is the planet's gravitational field gone for good? Or is this a temporary fluctuation, a gravitational wave of unimaginable scale passing through our sector of space? The optimist faction, mostly based in the European bunker, believes it's temporary and that gravity will eventually reassert itself. They are making plans for the return, a coordinated effort to manage the cataclysm of everything falling back to Earth. The pessimist faction, centered in the American and Russian bunkers, believes this is the new reality, They are developing long-term plans for subterranean living, for hydroponic farming deep underground, for a future where humanity becomes a creature of the rock. The voices from the bunkers are a source of information, but they are also a source of resentment. They are safe. They are warm. They have food. They are the old world preserved in a granite tomb, while you are living and dying in the new one. You listen to them, you glean what you can, but you do not trust them. They are not your leaders anymore. They are just a voice on the radio, a ghost from a world that is gone forever. You crank the handle of your radio, the dynamo whining, and you listen for a while longer to their calm, disconnected voices. Then you turn it off, preferring the honest silence of the abyss. The future, will not be decided in a bunker. It will be decided out here, on the ropes, by the people who are brave enough to face the sky. The foraging parties are becoming more daring, their journeys longer. The resources in the immediate vicinity of the bridge are dwindling. To find the real prizes, canned food, medicine, tools, technology, you have to go further afield into the deeper, more silent parts of the inverted city. But the ultimate destination, the one spoken of in hushed, filled tones, is the basin, the place where the ocean used to be. The journey takes 3 days. It's a small, elite team of 6, including you. Your skills with knots and ropes have improved enough to earn you a probationary spot. The trip is a grueling vertical marathon, a series of climbs, rappels, and zip lines across the dead city. The further you get from the concentrated life of the bridge, the more profound the silence becomes. There are no coughs, no whispers, just the constant sigh of the upward wind. The buildings here are untouched, their floating contents long gone, and their inverted rooms filled with a strange, dusty twilight. On the 3rd day, you reach the edge. The city simply ends. Where once there was a beach, a boardwalk, a coastal highway, there is now just a cliff, a precipice of unimaginable scale. You anchor your ropes to the foundation of a ruined condominium and crawl to the edge. You look down, and you see nothing, not the blue of the sky you've grown accustomed to. This is different. This is a void, the great, gaping wound where an ocean once lived. You are standing on the edge of a continental shelf, looking out over what was once the abyssal plain. The scale is impossible for your mind to process. It's a hole in the world, a crater so vast it curves away with the planet's own horizon. The air here is different too. It's thin, cold, and carries a strange, briny smell, the ghost of evaporated salt water. The atmospheric pressure is noticeably lower. A mainstream fact of geography is that sea level is the baseline for atmospheric pressure, about 14.7 pounds per square inch. As you go up, pressure drops. By coming to the coast, you haven't gone up, but the ceiling of the atmosphere has. The air is thinner, and your lungs feel the strain with every breath. Your movements feel sluggish. The team leader gives the signal. You are going down. This is the most dangerous part of the mission. You are not rappelling down a building face. You are lowering yourselves into a vast, open space. You connect to a new set of ropes, long, spidery filaments that have been painstakingly knotted together from hundreds of smaller lines. This is the spider silk, the strongest, longest tether the community possesses. The descent is terrifying. You are a tiny speck dangling in an immense emptiness. The cliff face recedes above you, your only connection to anything solid. Below you is a chasm that seems to have no bottom. The only sound is the creak of your harness and the whistle of the wind past your ears. After 1,000 feet, You enter a layer of permanent haze, the accumulated dust and moisture that hangs in the thin air. Visibility drops to almost zero. You are floating in a gray, featureless limbo. You rely entirely on your rope, on the tugs and signals from the climbers above and below you. Then, after what feels like an eternity, you emerge from the haze, and you see the floor of the world. The sea bead. It is illuminated by a strange, diffuse light, the sunlight filtering through the thin, dusty atmosphere. It's a landscape from another planet. Vast plains of dried, cracked mud are interspersed with strange, mountainous ridges, the mid-oceanic ridges where the tectonic plates are born. You see the ghostly outlines of underwater volcanoes, their calderas now just silent, empty bowls. The team lands on a wide, flat plain. The ground is a thick layer of dried salt and desiccated marine sediment. It crunches under your boots. The upward pull feels weaker here, a quirk of being in this massive depression. You unclip from the main line, but stay on a short personal tether, a precaution against any sudden gravitational shifts. You are now walking on the bottom of the sea. You pass the colossal skeleton of a blue whale, its bones picked clean by the unimaginable pressure changes and the abrasive, rising winds. It's the size of a crashed airliner, a monument to a lost world. You see strange geological formations never before seen by human eyes. Hydrothermal vents, black smokers, stand like petrified, demonic castles, their mineral deposits glittering in the gloom. It was in places like this, in the crushing dark of the deep ocean, that scientists believe life on Earth may have first begun. There is a scholarly debate known as the iron-sulfur world theory, which posits that the first metabolic reactions happened on the surface of these mineral structures. You reach out and touch one. It's cold and rough. You are touching the cradle of life, now exposed and dead in the open air. The mission here is salvage, not food or medicine, but technology. Scattered across the sea are the wrecks of ships, the remnants of fallen satellites, and, most importantly, the transatlantic communication cables. These are the prize, thick bundles of fiber, optic lines that once carried the world's information across the ocean floor. The team gets to work, using specialized tools to cut away sections of the heavy, armored cable. This is more valuable than gold. It can be unspooled to create thousands of feet of high, strength tether line, or used by the technicians to try and tap into the global communication network of the bunkers. You find a quirky, sad little relic in the dried mud, a single, child-sized sneaker perfectly preserved by the anaerobic conditions of the deep sea. It must have fallen off a boat years, maybe decades ago, a lost object now found in the ruins of the world. You pick it up, this small piece of the forgotten, down times, and you feel an overwhelming wave of sadness for everything that has been lost. The journey back up the spider silk is grueling. Hauling the heavy sections of cable is exhausting work. But as you rise back into the haze, back towards the cliff face, you feel a sense of accomplishment. You have walked on the floor of the sea. You have harvested the bones of the old world to build the new one. You have been to the silent, empty heart of the planet, and you have returned. The basin is a place of death, a monument to a world that is gone. But it is also a place of treasure, a source of hope. You have faced the void, and you have taken something from it. After the stark, desolate emptiness of the basin, you expect the return to the familiar chaos of the bridge to be a comfort, and it is, in a way. The presence of other people, the routines, the relative safety of the steel web, it's all reassuring. But something inside you has shifted. You've walked on the bottom of the world, and it has changed your perspective. You find yourself seeking out the quiet, have forgotten corners of the settlement, places where you can be alone with the new, vast thoughts that now occupy your mind. Your favorite spot is a small, precarious ledge on the outermost girder of the bridge, a place the riggers call the crow's nest. It's exposed, and the upward wind is stronger here, but it offers the most unobstructed view of the new sky. And it's here that you discover the single, most profound, and unexpectedly beautiful consequence of the world turning upside down: the stars. In the old world, looking at the night sky was an act of looking up, of peering through a thick, murky blanket of atmosphere. Even on the clearest night, in the most remote place, the view was filtered. Light pollution from the cities created a permanent, hazy dome, washing out all but the brightest stars and planets. You remember seeing pictures from the Hubble Space Telescope, those impossibly vivid images of galaxies and nebulae, and feeling a sense of detachment, as if they weren't real. They were too perfect, too colorful to be the same sky you saw from your backyard. Now, that has all changed. The atmosphere is thinning, its upper layers bleeding away into space. The light pollution is gone, the cities below now just dark, silent husks. And the constant upward pull means you are not looking up through the murk. You are looking down into the crystal, clear depths of the cosmos. The first time you truly experience it, it takes your breath away. You are tethered securely to the girder, leaning back against a cold steel beam. The sun, that familiar, life-giving star, has set, its light vanishing over the curve of the earth, sealing above you. For a while, there is a deep, profound twilight. Then, as your eyes adjust, they begin to appear. First one, then a dozen, then 100, then 1,000, then 1,000,000, then more than you could ever count. It's not a scattering of stars. It's a solid wall of them. The sky is not black with points of light. It's a field of diamonds glittering on black velvet. The Milky Way, which used to be a faint, milky smudge you might see on a camping trip, is now a brilliant, churning river of light that flows directly beneath you. It's not a band in the sky. It's a road. You can see its structure, its dust lanes, its dense, glowing core. It's terrifyingly, gloriously three-dimensional. You can see color. The faint, reddish tint of Betelgeuse, the brilliant blue, white of Rigel. You can make out the soft, ethereal glow of the Orion Nebula, not as a fuzzy patch, but as a vast, swirling cloud of pink and purple gas, a stellar nursery where new suns are being born. A mainstream fact of astronomy is that most of the universe's most beautiful sights are too dim to be seen with the naked eye. That is no longer true. Your eyes, unobstructed by a thick atmosphere, are now powerful enough to see the universe in all its glory. You lie there for hours, mesmerized. You see constellations you recognize, but they are embedded in a field of light so dense they are almost lost. You see meteors, not as fleeting streaks, falling from above, but as bright sparks, rising from the depths below you, tiny grains of cosmic dust incinerating as they hit what's left of the atmosphere. They look like fireflies in an infinite garden. There's a quirky, almost philosophical tidbit you learn from one of the settlement's amateur astronomers, a former university professor. She explains that when you look at the stars, you are not just looking at space, you are looking back in time. The light from the Andromeda Galaxy, a faint, oval smudge you can now clearly see, took 2.5 million years to reach you. You are seeing it as it was when early hominids were first walking the earth. This thought, which once seemed abstract, now feels visceral, personal. You are not just dangling over a void, you are dangling over the vastness of time itself. The view has sparked a new kind of spiritualism in the camp. People gather in quiet groups, not to pray to any old world god, but to simply watch, to gaze into the abyss. There are new myths being born, new constellations being traced in the starfield. The riggers have named a particularly bright cluster of stars, the Carabiner. A group of children insist that a swirling nebula is the ghost of one of the oceans. Of course, this beauty has a dark side. The view is so clear because your shield is gone. The atmosphere that once protected the planet from harmful cosmic radiation is getting thinner every day. Scientists still debate the long-term effects of low-level radiation exposure on the human body, but everyone knows it isn't good. The star-gazing sessions are a trade, off a glimpse of cosmic perfection in exchange for a dose of invisible poison. It's a price most people are willing to pay. You spend more and more of your free time in the crow's nest, your star chart, a salvaged relic from a bookstore raid, spread out beside you. You are learning the sky your new floor. It is vast and cold and deadly, but it is also unspeakably beautiful. In the old world, you were a creature of the earth, looking up at a distant, inaccessible sky. Now you are a creature of the sky, looking down at the very fabric of creation. You have lost your world, your home, your gravity, but you have gained the universe. And as you watch a galaxy spin in the infinite depths below, you can't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, it was a fair trade. Years pass. The relentless, gentle rise continues, but you no longer notice it. Your body has acclimated, your mind has accepted. Life on the bridge has evolved from a frantic scramble for survival into a stable, functioning society. The web of ropes is thicker now, the pathways more established. Makeshift shelters have been replaced by more permanent, enclosed pods built from scavenged sheet metal and plexiglass. The hand crank generator is gone, replaced by a bank of solar panels, salvaged from the roofs of floating buildings that have been precariously mounted to face the downward sun. There is a school, there is a council, there is a future, and that future has a face. You see them everywhere now. The children of the ascent, the generation born after the flip. They are different. They move with a lithe, fearless grace that the older generations can only envy. They have never known the crushing weight of a 1G environment. To them, the constant upward pull is as natural and unremarkable as breathing. They are the first true citizens of this new world. You watch them at play. Their games are dizzying, terrifying, and beautiful. They swing from ropes with the joyful abandon you once saw in the early, reckless swingers. But for them, it's not a defiant act. It's just playing. They have created a sport called ricochet, a three-dimensional version of tag played across the girders and beams, where the goal is to use the rebound from safety lines to launch oneself in unexpected directions. They are like a troop of monkeys, perfectly at home in their vertical jungle. Their bodies are different. Having grown up without the constant, compressive force of gravity, they are taller, their spines slightly elongated. Their muscles are leaner, built for climbing and pulling rather than lifting and carrying. Their feet, which have never known the flat, hard certainty of pavement, are more flexible, their toes more adept at gripping. It's a small, but observable, step in human evolution. But the most profound difference is not in their bodies, but in their minds. Their entire conception of the world is alien to you. They have no innate fear of heights. To them, There is no high or low, only near and far. The abyss below is not a terrifying void, it's just the background, the scenery. They cannot understand the vertigo that still occasionally grips you, the primal terror of an open edge. You try to explain what it was like to fall, to drop something and watch it shatter on the ground. They listen with a polite curiosity, the way you might listen to a story about dragons or magic. It's a fairy tale from a world that makes no sense. Their language is evolving. They have 100 words for different kinds of tethers, for the texture of the wind, for the quality of the starlight, but they have no word for down. The closest concept is away. When something is lost to the sky, it has gone away. It's a gentle, passive term, devoid of the violence of the old word, fall. You spend time at the school, a large pod where a former teacher tries to impart the knowledge of the old world. A mainstream fact of developmental psychology is the importance of object permanence, the understanding that an object still exists even when you can't see it. The children here have a different version of it. An object that floats away doesn't cease to exist. It has just begun a very long journey. The teacher shows them videos from the down times. She shows them oceans, and they ask why the water is sitting still. She shows them people walking on a street, and they ask why they are moving so slowly, so clumsily. A quirky and slightly sad observation is their art. They draw pictures of the bridge, of the ropes, of people floating. They draw the stars below them, but they never, ever draw a horizon line. Their world has no horizon. It is a place of infinite verticality. Their perspective is entirely different, a true three-dimensional view of reality that your gravity-bound brain can never fully replicate. There is a scholarly debate in linguistics and neuroscience known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that the language you speak influences the way you think and perceive the world. These children are living proof of that hypothesis. They don't just live in a different world, they perceive a different reality. Their minds are being wired in a way that is fundamentally new. You talk to one of them, a bright, curious girl named Sky, who was one of the first to be born on the bridge. She is 10 years old, but has the wisdom of an old soul. You ask her if she ever wonders about the world before, the world of the ground. She looks at you, her head cocked. I wonder about it, she says. The way you wonder about stories. It's not real though, is it? You try to explain. It was real, you say. Everything was heavy. You could stand on the ground and not float away. She thinks about this for a moment. That sounds noisy, she says finally, and boring. Why would you want to be stuck to the floor? And in that moment, you understand. You are the alien. Your memories, your instincts, your deepest, held assumptions about the nature of reality. They are relics. You are a refugee from a dead planet. These children are the natives. They are not adapting to this new world. They are of it. They are not the children of the ascent. They are the children of the sky, and the future belongs to them. You look at Sky, with her clear eyes and her fearless smile, and you realize your job is not to teach her about the past, but to learn from her how to live in the present. Your generation survived the flip. Hers will inherit it. The society of the bridge has achieved a state of remarkable stability. The birth rate is steady, the food supply is reliable elas if monotonous, and the complex web of tethers and anchors is meticulously maintained. A sense of permanence has settled in. This is life now. The great drama of the flip is over. And yet, a new anxiety has begun to ripple through the community. a quiet, insistent whisper that disturbs the hard-won peace. It's the rumor of a second flip. A flip back. It starts, as most rumors do, with the radio. The chatter from the bunkers, once a source of detached amusement, has become more frantic, more urgent. The scientists in their subterranean labs, the optimist faction who always believed this was a temporary state, are now claiming their models show another gravitational shift is imminent. They talk of field resonance, gravitational echoes, and tachyonic feedback. It's a storm of technobabble that nobody on the bridge understands, but the meaning is terrifyingly clear. The ride might not be over. The very idea is a poison. For years, every aspect of your existence has been re-engineered to fight against a single, relentless upward pull. Your knots, your anchors, your homes, your bodies, everything is designed to prevent you from flying away. What happens if that pull suddenly vanishes? Or worse, what if it reverses? The thought is so catastrophic that at first, people refuse to even consider it. It's dismissed as bunker dweller paranoia, the fantasy of people who can't accept that the world has changed. But the whispers persist. The foragers report strange readings on their scavenged scientific instruments. Compasses are behaving erratically. Delicate electronic scales fluctuate wildly. Small, almost imperceptible vibrations are being felt through the bridge's steel frame. A low thrum that feels unnervingly similar to the one you felt on that first, terrible morning. The community divides into factions, a mirror of the debate raging in the bunkers. There are the hopers, who cling to the idea of a return to the ground. They are mostly the older generation, the ones who still dream of solid earth, of walking without a tether, of feeling the rain fall down. They talk of rebuilding, of planting crops in the soil that might, just might, fall back from the sky. They see the flip back as a salvation, a divine intervention to restore the world to its rightful state. Then there are the dreiders, who see the flip back as the true apocalypse. This group includes most of the riggers, the engineers, and anyone with a practical understanding of physics. They know what will happen if gravity reverses again. Everything that is now precariously anchored will become a deadweight. The bridge, which has been under constant upward tension, will suddenly be subjected to an immense compressive load it was never designed for. Every knot will be tested in a direction it was never meant to hold, and everything that has been flying free, the trillions of tons of water, soil, and debris in the upper atmosphere, will begin to fall. It won't be a gentle rain. It will be a global bombardment, a storm of biblical proportions that will scour the surface of the planet. And what about you? What about every single person tethered to this bridge? You will fall. Your safety line will become a hangman's noose. You will plummet into the churning chaos below, a fall of thousands of feet onto a surface that is itself being pulverized by falling oceans. For the dreiders, the flip back isn't a return home, it's a death sentence. The scholarly debate at the heart of this is one of the most fundamental in all of physics. Is the gravitational constant, the G in Newton's famous equation, truly constant? Most mainstream science assumes it is, a fundamental property of the universe that has never changed. But there are fringe theories, whispers in the halls of academia. That G might fluctuate over cosmic timescales, or even be influenced by exotic matter or strange energy fields. The bunkers are now screaming that this fringe theory is fact. They are arguing about the nature of the coming shift. Will it be instantaneous, or a slow, gradual return, the reverse of the first flip? The difference is the difference between a quick death and a slow, agonizing one. The children of the ascent, cannot understand any of it. They listen to the panicked arguments of the adults with a quiet bewilderment. Their world, the only one they have ever known, is stable, predictable. The idea that the fundamental rule of their reality could simply change is beyond their comprehension. They are the calm center in a storm of adult fear. You see the preparations beginning. The hopers are gathering what they call ground seeds. Packets of salvaged seeds from the old world, carefully preserved. They are weaving baskets, which they believe they will use to gather the falling soil. Their faith is beautiful and terrifying. The traders are reinforcing anchors, doubling up on safety lines, and trying to design shock absorber systems using elasticated cords. They are preparing for a hurricane, knowing full well that what is coming is infinitely worse. You find yourself caught between the two camps. Part of you, the part that remembers the smell of wet earth and the feeling of grass under your feet, yearns for the ground. But the logical part of your brain, the part that has learned to survive in this vertical world, knows the traders are right. The return would be an extinction-level event. The whispers have become a roar. The strange vibrations in the bridge are more frequent now. A deep, resonant hum that makes your teeth ache. Something is coming. The great, terrifying experiment of the upside down world might be coming to an end. And you are standing on the precipice, not knowing whether to hope or to despair. Do you pray for the world to be healed, even if it kills you? Or do you pray for your own survival, even if it means being stranded in this impossible reality forever? The hum grows louder. An answer is coming. The tension of the impending flip back stretches for weeks, then months. The vibrations come and go, a cosmic tease that frays everyone's nerves to the breaking point. Life becomes a state of perpetual, low-grade panic. But the cataclysm doesn't arrive. Slowly, grudgingly, the settlement relaxes. The chatter from the bunkers dies down, replaced by confused silence. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe it was a false alarm. Or maybe the universe is just playing a cruel joke. In the midst of this strange, suspended anxiety, a new project emerges. It's the brainchild of the old university professor, the amateur astronomer. She argues that with the fear of the flip back fading, it is time for the community to do more than just survive. It is time for them to remember. She proposes the creation of a museum of the ground. The idea is met with some skepticism at first. Who has time for a museum when there are ropes to check and rations to sort? But the concept catches on, especially among the older generation. It's a way to process the grief, to catalog the loss. It's a way to tell the children this was real. The museum is established on a wide, sheltered platform that was once used for storage. It's not grand. It's a small, quiet space enclosed with scavenged plexiglass to protect the precious exhibits from the constant upward wind. Foraging parties are given a new directive. They are no longer just looking for food and tools. They are looking for artifacts, relics from the down times, and the relics begin to come in. Each one is a small, heartbreaking poem about a lost world. They are things you would never have looked at twice before, but now they are imbued with a profound, almost magical significance. There is a coffee mug, chipped and stained. It sits in a display case, a small plaque next to it reading, "Ceramic drinking vessel, used for hot liquids." Note the open top, which relied on gravity. You remember your own floating coffee on that first morning. It feels like a story from someone else's life. There is a single leather shoe, its sole worn smooth. The children stare at it, fascinated. They cannot comprehend putting your foot inside something so rigid, so heavy. Why did it need to be so strong? Asks Sky, the curious girl, now a young teenager. You try to explain the concept of pavement, of rocks, of walking all day on hard surfaces. It sounds like a description of a torture device. There is a paperweight, a smooth, heavy dome of glass with a dandelion trapped inside. It is perhaps the most poignant object in the entire collection. An object whose sole purpose was to be heavy, to defy the air. It is the ultimate symbol of a bygone era. A mainstream fact from the old world is that an object's weight is the measure of the force of gravity on its mass W/mg. This small, useless thing is a perfect illustration of a law of physics that no longer applies. The children touch the glass, their fingers tracing the shape of the delicate seed head, forever frozen, forever waiting for a wind that would blow it upwards. Now, the whole world is a dandelion seed, and the wind is always blowing. The museum is filled with these ghosts, a set of car keys, a fork, a book, its pages held open by clips, telling a story that can no longer be read in a linear fashion, a bar of soap. Each item requires a lengthy explanation of its function in a world ruled by down. These explanations reveal the thousand ways gravity shaped every aspect of human culture and technology, in ways nobody ever thought to notice. There's a quirky exhibit in the corner, a collection of objects that illustrate the failure modes of the old world. A shattered plate, a crushed soda can, a cracked phone screen. These are artifacts of falling. They are evidence of a force that was both a creator and a destroyer. The children, who live in a world where things that are dropped simply float away unharmed, find this concept of impact damage both terrifying and fascinating. Visiting the museum becomes a ritual. The elders go there to remember, to touch a piece of their past. They stand before the exhibits in silence, their faces a mixture of nostalgia and sorrow. The children go there to learn, to try and understand the strange, alien world their parents came from. They ask endless questions, trying to reverse, engineer the logic of a gravity-based existence. There's a scholarly debate that the museum inadvertently brings to life. In archaeology, there's a concept called experimental archaeology, where researchers try to recreate ancient tools and techniques to understand how they were used. The museum has a small, interactive section where children can try to use a fork and knife on a tethered piece of dense foam, or attempt to pour water from an open cup into a bowl inside a sealed chamber, of course. The clumsy, messy results are a powerful lesson in the invisible genius of their ancestors, who designed a world that worked so perfectly with the forces at play. You visit the museum often. You stand before a simple, framed photograph of a green field under a blue sky, a horizon line perfectly, impossibly flat. It feels more like a fantasy painting than a record of reality. You are a bridge, a connection between the world in that frame and the world of the children who look at it with confused eyes. You are a curator of a dead planet. The museum is a place of sadness, but it is also a place of pride. It is a testament to the fact that you have not forgotten. You have carried the memory of the ground with you into the sky. It is your anchor. It is the story you will tell the future, a reminder that even when the whole world is lost, the things you choose to remember can save you. The museum of the ground changes something in the settlement. The frantic energy of pure survival, followed by the crippling anxiety of the flip, back rumors finally gives way to something new, acceptance. A quiet, profound peace begins to settle over the community, as deep and vast as the starry abyss below. The world is what it is. The ground is a memory. The sky is home. And in that acceptance, you find a strange and unexpected freedom. The rhythm of life on the bridge becomes less about struggle and more about living. The daily tasks, checking tethers, rationing food, maintaining the solar panels, continue, but they are performed with a calm, practiced efficiency, not a desperate urgency. There is time now for other things, for art, for music, for stories. A musician rigs a salvaged cello horizontally, learning to play it in this new orientation, its mournful, resonant notes echoing through the steel girders. A painter, using pigments crushed from colored chalk and rust, creates vast canvases on sheets of salvaged metal, depicting the swirling nebulae below and the intricate web of life on the bridge. You find your own peace not in creation, but in motion. You have become one of the most skilled foragers, a master of the ropes. But you no longer go out just for supplies. You go out for the journey itself. You travel for days at a time, a solitary nomad in the vertical wilderness of the dead city. You have learned its moods, its secrets. You know which walls catch the best light, which canyons create the most beautiful echoes, which rooftops offer the clearest views of the cosmos. You are out on one of these journeys, perched on the spire of what was once a great cathedral. You are hundreds of feet above the bridge, utterly alone. The sun is setting on the earth, ceiling far above you, and the world is bathed in a soft, ethereal glow of orange and purple. You look down, past your dangling feet, past the distant, glittering lights of the bridge settlement, and into the heart of the Milky Way. The view, which once filled you with a sense of terrifying vertigo, now fills you with a sense of profound belonging. You are a part of this, a tiny, conscious speck in a universe of impossible beauty. You have come to understand that gravity was a cage, a comfortable, familiar cage, but a cage nonetheless. It kept you pinned to one tiny part of the universe, a thin film of life on the surface of a single rock. You spent your whole life looking up at the stars, dreaming of visiting them. You never imagined they would visit you instead. The universe did not invite you out. It simply disassembled your prison. A mainstream fact of cosmology is that the universe is expanding. Every galaxy is moving away from every other galaxy. It is a constant, silent upward fall on a cosmic scale. Your own personal, a gentle rise feels like a small, scale echo of that grand universal truth. You are not just rising away from the earth. You are joining the great expansion. You are sensing your own small journey with the journey of everything. There is a quirky, a fringe idea in theoretical physics known as the holographic principle. It suggests that our three-dimensional reality might be a projection, a hologram generated by information encoded on a distant, two-dimensional surface. Scientists still argue whether this has any basis in reality, but as you float here, suspended between the 2D memory of the ground and the 2D like starfield below, it feels plausible. You are living in the space between the page and the image, between the data and the reality. You no longer think about the ground with a sense of loss. You think of it with a fond, distant affection, the way you might think of a childhood home you can never return to. It was a place of beginnings, a cradle, but you can't stay in the cradle forever. Humanity was a terrestrial species. Now it is becoming something else. A species of the void, a species of the sky. You think of the children on the bridge, the generation that has never known anything else. They are not afraid. They are home. They will be the ones to take the next steps, to build bigger settlements, to travel further into the vertical world, perhaps even to build ships that can navigate this new reality, ships that don't fight the ascent, but ride it like a surfer on an infinite wave. They will be the true explorers. Your generation were the survivors. You were the bridge in more ways than one. Your purpose was to endure the transition, to preserve the memory of the old world while allowing the new one to be born. The last light of the sun fades. You are left in the pure, undiluted light of a billion distant stars. The wind, that constant upward companion, sighs around you. It feels like the breath of the universe. You are not falling. You are not rising. You are simply floating. You have found your equilibrium. You close your eyes, not in sleep, but in meditation. You feel the gentle tug of the universe, and for the first time, you do not resist. You let it hold you. You have found peace in the ascent. The journey back is a quiet one, a slow, drifting descent toward the warm, familiar lights of home. The ropes feel less like a necessity and more like a gentle guide, a thread connecting you back to the heart of your small, resilient tribe. As you approach the bridge, the distant sound of the cellist song reaches you, a lonely, beautiful melody that speaks of both sorrow and hope. You see the lights in the pods, the silhouettes of families gathering, the flicker of screens where children are learning about a world they will never know. This is your world now, this strange and wonderful vertical island, and your heart is filled with a quiet love for it, a love born not of nostalgia for what was lost, but of gratitude for what has been found. You have traveled so far, not in distance, but in spirit. From the initial, terrifying wobble of a floating coffee mug to this moment of profound, starry peace, you have learned to live and to thrive in the upside down. The gentle pull that has been your constant companion begins to feel like a soft embrace, a lullaby from the universe itself. The hard edges of the steel girders seem to soften in the starlight, the complex web of ropes becoming a dream catcher designed to hold you safe as you drift. Your thoughts, which once raced with fear and strategy, now slow to a gentle, meandering pace, like a slow river flowing toward a calm sea. The memories of the ground, the green fields, and the blue oceans are no longer painful ghosts. They are soft, faded tapestries, stories you can look upon with a gentle fondness before folding them away for the night. The sharp adrenaline of survival has given way to a deep, restful calm. The peace that comes after the storm has passed. Let the image of the star, dusted abyss below you, become a soft, deep blanket of tranquility. Each point of light is a distant, sleeping sun. Have their collective glow a gentle nightlight for your own journey into rest. Feel the last tensions of the day release from your muscles, letting the effortless upward drift carry all your worries away, sending them on a long, slow journey into the silent void. There are no more problems to solve, no more dangers to navigate. There is only this moment of quiet, this gentle suspension between the memory of a world and the dream of a cosmos. You are safe. You are tethered. You are at peace. Allow the rhythm of your own slow breathing to merge with the grand, silent respiration of space itself. A slow breath in and a long, peaceful breath out. Rest now. Your journey is over for today.